Villawood Properties, premier partner of the Riverwood Football Netball Club. When you're ready.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Tank, RFNC TV. On tonight's show, we're reviewing the results of our big game against Diggers Rest. Good win for the seniors of that one, getting the thoughts of Victoria's coach Nick Ash of that. Also chat with one of our stars celebrating the senior club milestone this week, 100th game against Wood End. As well as one of our returning stars, Cam McRorie, who's returned this year to the Tank after a couple of seasons with Coburg in the VFL. We've also got Feats returning for his segment of 60 seconds with Feats, and a sneak peek into some of the punishments on West Wheel. On with the show.
In round 4, Riverwood 14-11-95 defeated Diggers 14-7-91 with Dylan Featon the main goal scorer. Best players were Chambo, Nashi Egan, Brent Swallow, Dylan Featon, Shawnee Hetherington and Dean Putt. Riverwood currently second on the table. In the reserves, Riverwood 6-3-39 went down to Diggers 10-6-66 with Mark Young scoring 2 goals. Sean Crawford, Jaden Egan, Eddie Whelan, Chris Lucas, Dylan Dremel and Lukey Board starring for the team. It sees Riverwood slip to 5th on the table. In the under-19s, Riverwood 21-15-141 easily accounted for Diggers Rest 2-1-13. Jacob Shaheen once again amongst the goals with 8. Borg, Pronuscus, Harris, Recupero, Keldone and Marshall the best for the home team.
Righto, Nick, a pretty tight one today against the Borough. How did you see it pan out?
Yeah, it was a pretty tight contest. Probably allowed them to score probably 4 or 5 goals too many. Through some ill discipline out there on the ground, some 50-metre penalties, and just some boys a bit slow to react out there. So I thought it was not a quite 4-quarter performance the way we've been playing, so we've got plenty of things to work on in the coming weeks.
Yeah, threw plenty of challenges at us, responded reasonably well, but we did have a couple of flat spots, but plenty to work with.
Yeah, there certainly is, and I suppose injuries don't help. We finished with only 2 on the bench in the end. I think Keegan Guy's maybe broken his collarbone, which didn't look the best when he came off in a fair bit of pain, so I wish him all the best. And Cam McRorie got a corky just before 3/4 time, trying to run it out, but just a little bit tender, so we just decided to rest him in the end. Moving on to Wood End, next week's going to be a big game. I think they're 3-0. I'm not too sure why they went today. Well, they lost today, there you go. But obviously starting the year quite well, so we're going to be at our best, I guess, next week. Hit the track and try and get out there and have a good 4-quarter performance before the interleague break.
Yeah, great effort as we roll towards next week. Thanks, Nick, for your time.
No worries at all.
Morfab Engineering, platinum sponsor of the Riverwood Football Netball Club.
Now we're going to welcome another one of our young stars to the Tank, Cam McRorie, who's returned this year after a couple of years at Coburg. Welcome Cam. How are you going today?
Yeah, good mate.
That's good. When and how did it all begin for you at Riverwood? When did you first start playing with Sharks?
It's probably all started. I was keeping in prep or when it starts.
Yep.
And started playing all the way through under 9s, all the way through juniors. Beautiful. Just having luck, so
Great. Can you name your favourite coach along the way, on the journey? Anyone that sticks out for you?
Playing juniors, probably my favourite coach, probably Pricey, the assistant coach.
Yep.
Back in 16, and that was a really fun year.
Any particular reason why Pricey sticks out?
I was probably had most success with you, I reckon.
Yep.
And it was probably the best fun I had playing juniors that year.
Very cool. Alrighty, so after that season, you went up through the elite talent pathway. Tell us about your time with the Cannons.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I wasn't there all the way through. I got there through my top 8 year in Monday Adams.
Yep.
So I was there late and then played 4 games, 2 different games in 2 games, and then got dropped and come back to Ripo. So it was a fun experience, but yeah.
Up and down a little bit. It's alright. So I also spent a couple of years at Coburg, and one of which you suffered a severe injury. Obviously not what you're looking for. Tell us how you sort of dealt with that and handled that, and how it's helped you with your footy sort of thing.
Yeah, I haven't had the greatest run of injuries, but yeah, I started off playing. I played 2 games in my first year, then broke an ankle, and I come back and played Ripo for a game.
Yep.
And I guess that whole year was really just laying in bed doing nothing for a long period of time. But after that, it was about getting the strength back in the legs and then trying to improve my footy from now on.
Yep. Obviously, year 2 at Coburg, you're runner-up in the BNF and development team. Must have been a good reward, obviously, for that work getting back after the previous year's frustration and injury.
Yeah, it was good. It was a completely different year. I played most of the game, most of the season.
Yep.
I think I missed 5 games at the end, but apart from that, it was good being able to play a big stretch of games since I haven't been able to do that for a while, so that was good fun.
Alrighty, and any expectations for this season? Or what are your expectations anyway for this season? Obviously off to a good start. What are your thoughts at the moment?
Yeah, well, look, we're playing good at the moment. I guess for the team, we always want to go one better than what we did last year.
Yep.
Which is winning the grand final.
Yep. Good answer. And I think you mixed this up a little bit here too. Nails, I think. I'll name him. Sounds just like you weren't overly impressed with not being named the initial interleague squad. And you just got the old late call up after it wasn't a good showing at the training session. What do you got to say about Nails?
Oh, now it's just boring pretty much. And his team.
Yeah, I think he must be a little bit jealous of it. Well, anyway, thanks for coming to the tank. Thanks for joining us on the show this week, and good luck for the weekend. Rest of the year.
In this week's netball, A grade, Rupertwood 47 defeated Diggers Rest 37. Abby Gilmore 26 goals and Haley Matthew 19 goals. The best for Rupertwood, Lara Keating, Alice McCormack and Holly Keating. In B grade, Rupertwood 43 defeated Diggers Rest 25. 18 goals to Lucy Bettina and 17 goals to Hannah Keane. Best for Matilda Elliott, Beck Said and Emily Katona. In the C grade, Rupertwood 27 defeated Diggers Rest 21, with Holly Bates scoring 14 goals and Maddie Bosio 13 goals. Best on the court was Maddie Stafford, Keely Clarkson and Neem Varland. In the under-19s, Rupertwood 63 defeated Diggers Rest 9. Hannah Keane shooting 32 goals and Holly Bates shooting 31. Best for Rupertwood, Holly Bates, Maddie Bosio and Keely Carlyon.
Alright, welcome to the tank, young Dean Halliwell, who's big congratulations goes to him this week, playing 100th senior game versus Woodend. How are you doing?
Hey, good, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. What year did it all begin for you at Ripper?
I think it was about 2005.
Yep.
Came down when I moved next door to Brent and Jaden, Ripper, and yeah, I've been here ever since, really.
Yep. Beautiful. And who are some of the players of note that you've played with over your time here, both juniors and seniors? Someone that sticks out.
I'd have to say yourself probably. Being a fellow defender, I've got to look after you. The household names, Chambo, Ruba, all these other guys have been great to play with over the years.
Yep, good to play some footy with them boys.
Absolutely.
Any current day heroes at the tank?
Well, the 3 players I just mentioned are still here, so I have to say yourself being number 1, absolutely.
Right. Right, so 100 senior club games, very good achievement. What does that mean to you? You're only still very young, so you've got plenty of footy left in you.
Yeah, most of those games are probably in the 18s and the 2s, so still trying to have a crack. Sort of hasn't really clicked yet, but it means a lot. It means a lot to me. I love playing footy here. We've got a really good vibe going this year.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. That's why I love playing here. So 100 senior games is great. 100 games, a bunch of great guys.
Alrighty, and any ambitions for this season? At this early stage?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to play as many senior games as I can. If I was short last year, I'd love to get a flag, that'd be great.
Yep, ready. Alright, so I think you've been stitched up a little bit here. A little birdie's been in my ear, so I don't know who this little birdie is, it's anonymous. They tell us you've got an interesting story about a bathtub and a pot plant. Can you share any details on that story with us? And
keep it PG for the camera. A few years ago now, I was in the bath and just one slipped out and and I thought I was going to get in a little bit of trouble. So instead of doing a logical thing and burn it up, put it in the toilet or something, I sort of decided to put it in the pot plant above me on the windowsill and
what else would you do?
Turn the pot plant around so no one would see the evidence of the crime.
Just smell it.
Just smell it 2 weeks later.
That's great. Alright, is it true that True that you once held the Victorian record for having the largest quads as a 17-year-old.
I don't know if that's an official record.
Self-proclaimed, I think.
I'll take that.
Yep. And then another one I think you've been stitched up with here is anything you'd like to share with the viewers about someone named George.
George. George is my alter ego. I think that's what we're talking about.
You're telling the story, mate.
He appeared in Mexico a few years ago, and he's been haunting me ever since. I'll leave it at that.
All right. We won't see George tonight, I don't think. Anyway, congratulations, Dino, on 100 games, senior club games for the club.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best for the weekend.
Cheers, man. Thanks, man.
Pinnacle Print Group, platinum sponsor of the Ribbitswood Football Netball Club.
Hello, welcome to 60 Seconds of Feats. I've got my guest for this week, Mitch Boyd.
Thanks for having me, Pete.
How you going, mate?
Not very well, thanks. Yourself?
How's you got your laps?
Yeah, not very well. A bit unfit at the moment, but we'll get there.
Alright, we'll get into it. Firstly, what do you do for a job, or do you study? Or?
At the moment, I'm at uni. I'm doing education at uni, but on the side, I work in a warehouse. So, yeah, in Brooklyn. Not the best gig, but pays the bills. So
that's it. What's your Rupo career highlight?
I'd have to say a few years ago, back in the 18s, kicking goal of the century down in the pocket against Wood End. Some said it was from the canteen, but yeah, can't really tell.
Which AFL player did you model your game on? More of Cyril, maybe Jeffy Garlett?
Cyril, bit of a combo of Cyril, Jeffy Garlett, Eddie Betts, all the small forwards.
Yeah.
Rate yourself down the forward line. So yeah,
definitely say that. Have you got a celebrity crush?
Or I have to say Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie?
Yeah, she goes alright.
Yeah. Do you consider you have a dad bod or a body of a mum of two kids?
Bit of a combo of the two, I'd say.
Combo of the two.
Very, very average rig at the moment.
That's alright, more laps and you get there,
Yeah,
mate.
a couple more.
Where would you like to go on a footy trip? It's up to you.
Adelaide, probably.
Adelaide?
Adelaide goes alright. So
Got a tip for the best time, you reckon, for this year?
No, I can't pick it yet.
Can't
Probably
pick it yet.
Barnsworth actually. He goes alright.
If you had the choice, someone kick after someone and win at the club, who would it be?
Probably be either Jaden Bailey or Eddie Whelan.
Yeah,
A couple of good kicks. So yeah.
And back in the 18s, you're known for your third quarter spark, and now you're more of a Mr. Reliable down back. When your time's up and you retire, what would you like to be known as?
Probably the third quarter spark.
Third quarter spark.
Don't mind snagging the third quarter. So yeah.
Alright, thanks for joining me. There's three blokes, they're sitting down and they come across the Guinness World Record book. They're going through it and one of them was like, you get a record for anything these days. So they all wander down the street, they go to the Guinness World Records joint. One goes, I reckon one of the biggest big toes in the world. Goes in, 5 minutes later, sure enough, certificate, biggest big toe in the world. Next bloke goes, I reckon I've got the smallest small toe in the world. Goes in, comes out 5 minutes later, certificate. Third bloke goes, I reckon I've got the smallest dick in the world. Goes in, comes out 30 seconds later. Who the fuck's Brad from Mr. Marco?
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of The Tank. Be sure to stay tuned for the RDFNL Footy Show and Netball Show with Yandy and Tara. Cheers.
Welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Looking ahead to round 5 Monday agenda, I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for jumping on board this week.
Thanks for having me.
Interleague is just around the corner. You're getting a bit excited?
It is. It'll be quite interesting to see how we go. You don't have to go too far up the road. So going to Central Highlands, which is one of the neighbouring leagues. So it'll be quite interesting to see how the league goes. It's been a little bit up and down the last few years for Interleague for the RDFL.
Yeah, a bit of a win-loss scenario. And unfortunately, a few years ago when Jack Mills of Macedon helped cause the upset of the Interleague history with that guiding the RDFNL to a win over Nepean, and counted for donuts. But at least it gave a bit of a perception that there's a lot of quality in our competition.
There is, and Mills is one of the players who's been named in this squad. I think there's quite a few players who have been part of past campaigns. I know Brett Chambers, who was co-captain last year, is another one who's been named. I think there was 11 Ruperts with players, 10 Macedon, quite a lot of depth from across a number of sides, and a few other players have been added on from their performances the last couple of weeks.
Definitely right. And we also know Millsy has still been signing autographs and kissing babies since that very goal. As we turn our attention to senior football, and we've got a big game. Speaking of Millsy, his beloved Macedon travelled to Diggers Rest in a very crucial contest.
It is. This is probably for the third week in a row we've had the top three sides from last week play each other. So it gives a good indication of where these sides are sitting at early on. Probably Diggers Rest has been probably the better side of the two. Both have lost one match each, and they've both lost to Rupertswood. The Burrows were probably a little bit closer and probably a little bit better performance against the Sharks. So if you're looking at that form line, you'd say the Burrows would be favourites going into this match.
Particularly on their home deck as well. They're 2-0 so far, and they're looking really, really good. But Macedon, they've still, after that game against Rupo, they've been able to bounce back. So it's shown some positive signs. It
is, and they've still got a lot of premiership players in that squad. So you don't buy that talent any day, and any of those players can step up when they need to. They've got a lot of different avenues to goal, which they sort of needed to find. Losing Jason Cook on the weekend, it was Daniel Markworth who stepped up, kicking 4 goals. So that gives them a different player up forward. So you don't write the Cats off at all in this game.
Macedon lose this one. What does it mean for the competition?
I don't think it means anything at all. I think the Cats had a slow pre-season, and they knew they were probably going to be slow starters. And you're playing Diggers Rest, who's always a tough opponent. So I don't think it says much at all. It probably just shows where the two sides are at in their preparation.
Macedon win. What does it mean for Diggers as well?
It means 2 weeks in a row that the Burrows have lost to the Sharks and the Cats, who they lost to in the final series last year as well. Obviously, they're still building, and they've still got a lot of players to come back in as well. So, look, I don't think it'd be concerns for either of these two sides. It's obviously nice to get the wins on the board, but it's making sure you're playing the right way.
And the current Bureau suggests we'll probably have a bit of wet conditions. Who do you think that might suit?
I think it's probably the Burrows. I think they've got a lot of big bodies in that midfield. Obviously, both sides do, but I think it probably suits the Burrows most. They've got a lot of small forward options as well. So in the wet weather, those small forward options can come in very handy. Yeah, exactly. They have shown some good signs in that time. Another game that could go either way. We've got the Sunbury Kangaroos playing host to Centrals. It is. This is quite interesting. Both of these sides have been very competitive in all their matches, but it's been about playing a full 4-quarter performance, and that's where it's let them both down. They're both 1 and 3. And in those other performances, we talked about it earlier in the week, Centrals have been in front at halftime in all 3 of their matches. So you've got that, and the Sunbury, on the other hand, they were in the match at halftime against Rupertswood. They led until the final 5 minutes against Wallen, and they were in the game at halftime against Macedon. So that's 3 very highly rated opposition. So it could quite easily go either way. It's which team can play that for 4 quarters. It's a tough one for Centrals, because they could. I'm just trying to rack my memory, but they could be undefeated heading into this contest if they had played better third quarters, such as the way they've been playing this year. Look, obviously, I don't think they would have been 4-0. I think the Riddle could have quite easily been in front at halftime with their goal if they had a kick straight. So obviously they could have been quite easily 3-1, which would have been a brilliant start for them. Unfortunately, they're 1 and 3 on the other hand, and they could easily be 1 and 4 if the Kangaroos fire on for 4 quarters. If one team's going to make finals out of these two, from what you've seen and what you've gathered, which one of these teams are capable of playing finals? I know it's a long way away yet. I think Sunbury Kangaroos have that bit more experience, and that's probably where it is. Obviously, the Kangaroos lost a lot of players in the off-season, where Centrals are still building, and they know they're probably not going to be around the finals mix this year. They've obviously said, yep, we're going to improve as a side. We may not win as many matches because we do have a harder draw, but looking to build forward, I think Sunbury Kangaroos still have a lot of top players in that side.
Yeah, well, it should be an interesting one. Your tip for this game?
I did tip Sunbury, but could quite easily go either way.
I'm jumping on the Central's bandwagon. I think they just need to improve on that third quarter. That's going to be very important for them. Speaking of very important for them, it's the Hawks. They've got a very important game against Rupertswood, and Rupertswood are flying, and the Hawks are coming off a disappointing loss to the Redbacks, who played some brilliant footy on at Romsey Park on the weekend.
Exactly how you put it. The Sharks are flying. They're 4-0. They've beaten Macedon and Diggers Rest the last couple of weeks, so they're two really, really good opposition. The Hawks, on the other hand, would be disappointed. They wanted to be 4-0 heading into this tough period for them, and they dropped the game against the Redbacks, a game they needed to win if they want to play finals. So for the Hawks, it's about testing themselves against one of those top-line sides. A lot of Romsey's been their highest-placed opponent in the first couple of weeks, so now it's about playing some of those good sides. I think it's Rupertswood this week, Diggers Rest the week after. They need to try and pinch one of those games to get back up there and show, yep, we really do mean business.
We know how good the Sharks are, but if we're looking at an improved performance from the Hawks, what would be a satisfying margin to sort of get within if they were not to win?
Look, they'd be wanting a close match. They'd be wanting to be within the game for four quarters. So they don't want to be playing well for half a game. They want to be in the mix for the whole entire game.
Yep, I'm with you on that one there. Broadford and Riddle over at Harley Hammond Reserve. This could be an interesting contest for the Bombers, who haven't had the best starts this season. They'll probably get sick of hearing they are traditionally slow starters, but they themselves have sort of said it. What would they be looking to take out of this match?
They'd be wanting a big win.
Yeah.
The Bombers would want a big win and continue what they did in the second half against Melton Centrals. They haven't been great so far this season. We say they haven't been great, but if results, a kick here, a kick there, could have gone another way. So they haven't been terrible, but they just haven't got wins on the board. So for them, they probably want to get a good four-quarter performance, which is what they've sort of lacked. They've had bits and pieces in Macedon. They dropped off for a little bit. They dropped off for the final quarter against Wallen. So it's about making it a full four-quarter performance from the Bombers.
I think if Dylan Tarkson is in the team, this is going to be the game where he has to launch himself and announce himself to the competition, because he is loaded with talent, and with improved fitness, maybe playing on the ball, maybe playing high half forward, this could be the chance where he can really announce himself to the comp.
Exactly. I've seen him play at other levels, and he can dominate a game. Not even just a game, he can dominate a quarter. He could kick 4 or 5 goals in a quarter and really turn a game on its head. So he has got that ability, and he is an X factor for Riddle, and it's a guy that you can't take lightly.
Exactly right. So we know that we expect the Bombers to win that one, and we expect Broadford to, again, a lot of positives from last week against Rockbank, and it's just about scoreboard pressure for them.
It is, and it's making sure they're doing the little things right, getting the structures in place, making sure they've got that defensive pressure around the ground, and making it hard for Riddle. And that's the thing. It's about doing all those little things that will help build the team and build that confidence going into the next few years.
It's peak day over at Romsey Park, and congratulations to the great work that the Romsey Football Netball Club have done over the years to support the BCNA. So the footballers and the netballers will be decked out in pink as they run onto the field and court. And it's Romsey playing host to Lansfield. It was becoming a sort of tradition for Mother's Day round. It
is, and good on Lansfield getting involved too. You've got Stacey DeMoses is shaving her head, so she's playing with Lansfield this year, but a former Redbacks player. So there's a story in this week's Star Weekly about how you can get involved and that you can donate to that cause as well. But it is an important game for these two local rivals. Look, on court, you'd obviously go, on field, you go Romsey has been the stronger side over the last couple of years, and you'd expect that to continue. They've started to show that form that got them into the finals last year, and I can't see that changing. Can
we expect a better performance from Lansfield after kicking just the 1 goal last week?
I think Lansfield would be wanting that. No team would be happy kicking 1 goal, no matter where you are on the ladder. So they'd be hoping to kick a few more and make it a more competitive contest. Obviously, they are playing at Romsey Park, and we all know how hard Romsey is to play there, especially if the weather gets wet.
Yep.
We're expecting wet weather, so I think that Romsey will be too good.
And the final game, we've got Rockbank and Wallen. That's going to be an interesting contest. Rockbank coming off their maiden win for 2018, and Wallen are coming off their biggest win of 2018.
It is, and obviously, look, Rockbank will take some confidence into this. They have been improving every week, even if the scoreboard hasn't been showing. They did get the win on the weekend, though. And then you've got Wallen, which we've seen this season, when they play those bottom teams, they smash them. And they did it last week against Lansfield. they'll probably be looking to do the same thing again this week. Hopefully the weather will make it a lot closer game than that.
Yep.
And hopefully the Rams can take it up to the Magpies and make an interesting match.
There were some positives for the Rams last week because Ricky Cameron and Harley Cameron, they both had really good performances, and when those boys get firing, the team starts to sort of lift around them against good opposition. But we know that Wallen got a superstar midfield. They're very well coached, and they've got players can share the goal front. I think you mentioned earlier on the week they had 7 multiple goal kickers against the Tigers, and I think that's pretty standard for them too.
It is. They've got a lot more depth, and that's the key for Wallen. They've got a lot of depth. As we've seen it in their reserves as well. They made it through to the grand final last year, so they've got a lot of depth across the board, and they're only going to get better. I think for them, but they're wanting to take on some of these tougher sides. But in the meantime, they just have to make sure they're playing well against the lower sides.
Exactly, and it's good for them that they're not relying on Sam Rex Happy to kick the big bag of goals like he'd done in the past too. So they're able to share. The midfield is able to contribute, and a lot of good run from the half-back line, which is going to make it tough for Rockbank because they're up against a side that is generally a contender this year.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic. And can't forget, listen to the boys on OKRFM as they'd be broadcasting live the big game between Broadford and Riddle. And of course, just lastly, Interleague, just around the corner again, a lot of people heading over to Bunnyong, a big game against Central Highlands. How important is this game for the locals?
Look, I think it is. I think everyone wants to win Interleague. It gives a little bit of credibility to the league. Obviously, we ranked one of the lower ones across Victoria. So trying to get up those leagues, if you're a higher ranked league, you're more likely to get more players into the competition. And we've started to see a whole lot more ex-AFL players come into the competition in the last few years. So that's only going to get better, and it only shows that the league is getting better and people want to be involved in this league.
Exactly, it's a great advertisement for players to come across, and of course with Central Highlands, we know that the RDFNL will be really keen to get the win over them. I know with Maryborough they've been keen to do it in the past, so this is a big opportunity for the fans to head over to Bunnyong and see a really good team performance, see some of the big guns, and with more opportunities coming out about with Interleague footy as part of the championships, where we're seeing teams like we're seeing Golden Valley and Ballarat playing at the MCG. We're going to see more opportunities like that where there's a chance for Interleague games to take place on AFL ground. So a great opportunity sort of exists. So hopefully we urge as many people as possible to buy into the whole concept, because it is pretty exciting. The future is very bright in that sort of championship.
It is, most definitely.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week, and we look forward to catching up with you later on as we get ready for a big explosive Interleague campaign.